Hey, good morning. How y'all doing? It is well, Red Beard. The time has come. This is the McCammon Project, episode 1, and we are going to talk about the 1987 epic, sprawling, 950-page masterpiece that is Swan Song. And yes, it is a masterpiece. I loved it. I 5-star loved it. I can't believe I waited this long to read it. I thought I'd read it. Like I thought I read this back in the day, pre-Goodreads, probably pre-internet. Well, not really pre-internet, but you get what I'm saying. I mean, I've read a lot of, just standard size horror paperbacks. Read some McCammon, but missed out on this one somehow until now. This is my bucket list book 2 of the year. I put a tweet out and people, were talking about books to read, in your last 6 months of life or whatever. This one came up. I knew I wanted to read this. I finally bit the bullet, so to say, and got into it and read it. And it is that damn good. It's as good as everybody says it is. I like it better than Stephen King's The Stand. This will, it's always going to be compared to it. It's Robert's massive post-apocalyptic story, whereas The Stand is King's. I like it better than King's book, and I will try to tell you why. This is not a competition. I'm not bagging on Stephen King. I think McCammon's my guy, though. I think McCammon is my guy as far as like vintage male horror author, and I say male because Shirley Jackson is my girl as far as shit that I just absolutely love. But I would have told you Matheson was my guy, but I think it's going to become McCammon just based off of Swan Song and Boy's Life. I mean, both of those books are in my I want to say top 5, but I'm not gonna. I'll say top 10. Both of those books are going to be in my top 10 all time if I was to put the list together today. And I've reread a lot of King in the last couple years, and again, I'm not bagging on the guy. But some of those stories like I haven't enjoyed as much as I thought I did. I'll give you an example: The Shining. On a reread of The Shining, there's a lot of stuff about it that I didn't really like, and I found that a lot of the nostalgia, a lot of those things, because going in, I would have told you The Shining was my favorite King book, but I found that a lot of the nostalgia, a lot of the things that I loved about it, a lot of the things that are set firmly in my memory, of my start through all of King's work as like a young 13, 14-year-old kid, a lot of that shit came from the movie. So I've gotten off track, but I think McCammon's my guy. So this is the start of the McCammon Project. I'm going to go back and start with his very first standalone novel, Bail. That will be the next one I read, and I'll come here and we'll talk about it. And I'll try to maybe do one a month and try to work through his standalone novels first. I may start doing Blue World for Shorts on Shorts because that's a short story collection, and then I'll go back and get in the non-standalone stuff. That's my goal. It's a lofty goal. We'll see how far I make it. But this book, Swan Song, man, it's amazing. It was put out in 1987, and one thing I love, well, first of all, I love the characters. Love the characters in this book. I mean, I love the leads, the heroes in this book, far more than the other one. And again, I'm not going to keep talking about the other one, but far more than the other one for me personally. I love that, a young, I think she's 12 at the beginning of this, a young 12-year-old girl. Maybe she's a little bit younger than that. Because I know that right in the middle of the book it jumps 7 years, but I love that it's female leads, both of them. Both of our two main good heroic characters are female. You have Swan, which I might mess this up, but it's short for Sue Wanda. They call her Swan. And then you have Sister, and Sister is a homeless lady in New York City, a bag lady, and we find out that she lost her daughter in a drunk driving accident, and because of that, husband left. And she basically became this homeless, somewhat crazy lady, and those are our two main characters. I mean, a little girl and a homeless lady, and those for me, I loved that. I loved that they were our heroes, and there are multiple times throughout the book where you're like, you think, okay, they're not really the heroes. So and so is going to be the hero. This secondary character is going to be the guy. We have to have the guy to do it all, and it's just not that way. I mean, throughout this is a book with strong female leads, which is super cool, especially in 1987, especially, written by a white feller, I thought that was really cool. So in this book, we're following Swan, Sue Wanda. And first of all, it is a Apocalypse book. I already said that. The opening sentence of this book is just wonderful. Once upon a time, we had a love affair with fire. Love it. But I mean, that's just the first half of the sentence. Once upon a time, we had a love affair with fire. The President of the United States thought, as the match that he just struck to light his pipe flared beneath his fingers. It's nuclear apocalypse, and we're worried about what Russia's doing. They're worried about what we're doing. You got to think this is the height of the Cold War back in 1987, and they fire first, we fire first. I don't know, but everybody fires, and everything is knocked out. The cities first, the smaller cities next, the military targets. So the idea there was you maybe in like small town Kansas, but there's a military target right up the road. So everything is hit, and we have Swan again. She's a little girl, and we have Josh Hutchins, also known as Black Frankenstein, because he's a wrestler. He's an ex-NFL player, and he's a professional wrestler, a heel, a villain, and they call him Black Frankenstein. And they, Swan and her mom and Josh, they happen upon each other at this small, middle of nowhere, Kansas, I think it's Kansas, like little convenience store, like little old mom and pop, grocery gas place, right? And as they're there, the shit hits the fan, and they basically get trapped. Her mom passes away very early, and it's basically Josh and Swan. That's two people we're following. They eventually crawl their way, dig their way out of this collapsed building on top of them in this basement, and find their way out. And then we have Sister, who wakes up deep in the tunnels of the subway tunnels, the unused subway tunnels of New York City, and crawls her way out. And those are our central characters. Sister, meets multiple people along the way that help her along the way. But I feel like while Josh truly was Swan's right hand, I feel that Sister, had multiples along the way and didn't. And she kind of was a standalone thing. I mean, she wasn't. Later on, we meet a character in this cave. There are these like highwaymen, these like scavengers, a group of young boys, and one of those characters, becomes kind of like her right hand for a while, but it's less so than it is with Swan and Josh. But again, just love the characters. Now on the bad side, we've got a family of people that are going to this what's the word I'm looking for? Doomsday prepper type vacation. There's this underground bunker, this old missile silo or whatever it was. I can't really recall 100%, but it's off in the middle of nowhere, and people are like buying like timeshares at this thing. So I guess if you're planning for the end of the world, but you're kind of hoping for the end of the world because you hope that if the end of the world does come, it comes during your 2-week vacation slot, right? Well, so this family goes there, and we've got a young boy about the same age as Swan, I think, and then you've got the leader of this thing, General Macklin. I'm drawing a blank on what the young boy's name was. It's been a couple weeks since I read this. Roland. His name is Roland. Also found that kind of cool. The link to the Dark Tower. I mean, I don't know if there was any purposeful link there, but I found that kind of cool. But General Macklin or Colonel Macklin or whatever, and Roland, they end up being the two survivors from this thing, and we're following them too. But they end up being like the bad side of things. Although Colonel Macklin does have a moment of redemption. All the while, we got this guy here, and I don't know if he's, the devil or if he's death. You kind of think it's a bit of both. But he's kind of somewhat the Randall Flagg in this thing. And if I had any complaints about this book at all, and you have to do this, right, because you have to give your good a chance to succeed. But while he was a powerful, villain, a very, very strong bad guy, there were some parts where you're just like, he felt weak, and I get it, certain things would happen and it would weaken him, but he felt a little weak. I get it. If he's written as powerful as maybe biblical representations or what we think of the devil or death or the four horsemen of the apocalypse or whatever, then the humans wouldn't really stand a chance. But ultimately, that for me, that's what the book was about. It was about the human. The human condition. Humans winning out, finding victory, finding what's the word? Salvation in being human, in being good to their fellow man. There are parts in this book where, again, it's an apocalypse, and for a long, long time, it's every man and woman for themselves. It's there's no real. I mean, there are little communities have blossomed up here and there, but there's no real sense of community. And when everything starts to come together midway through the book, when Sister finds Swan and Josh, and they start, they find this community and they start to set down roots. This is where we're going to choose to restart civilization. And the community there, the community aspects, there's like a very, very there's a shift, and you feel it, and people. There's one particular scene, I think it's shortly after they find the well. They find this, they dig this freshwater well. And very shortly after that, things start to shift. And well, this person, I'll help with that. Or, hey, I've got this over here that you need to do this job. And you just feel that. And that part of the book was really, really beautiful. But again, it's an epic apocalyptic story. I don't really want to go too much into it. You've got a bad side, you've got a good side, and you've got the big bad that eventually takes over the bad side and kind of leads them further into a place they don't want to go. There's a very, very harrowing ending here where we come across a character that we didn't think we were going to see again in the West Virginia mountains, and the way this whole thing wraps up is really beautiful. Now, Swan has powers. She has the power to bring dormant, dead plant life back to life. So she has the ability to repopulate the food source, the cornfield. There's one part where she puts her hand on an apple tree, the last remaining apple tree in this vast orchard that hasn't been cut up for firewood, and it comes back to life. So there's that element of it. But after the the big climax, the big final scene, I'm not going to tell you. Well, I might tell you. there's a part where the sun starts to come back out, and we're talking after, I don't know, like I said, there's a jump mid book that jumps 7 years. And then I'm assuming I mean, I don't think it's really defined, but there's a couple more years that roll off before we get to the real climax. But when the sun starts to come back out, it's a beautiful scene. Sister story is absolutely beautiful, and there's an element here too. This disease, these growths, these things that cover people's faces, whether it's, radioactivity or whatever has done it, but eventually that cracks and comes back off, and what you look like inside is now what you look like outside. And so the whole idea of the swan and the ugly duckling, I dug all that stuff. It is a great book. Man, I don't know if I like it more than Boy's Life, and I'm going to reread Boy's Life. I read Boy's Life 3 or 4 years ago. It has not been that long. Today, I have to say that I like Swan Song more, but I'm going to reread Boy's Life as part of this McCammon project. I'm going to, do all the standalone novels over the course of the next year or so. Like I said, maybe one a month or whatnot. But Swan Song, Robert McCammon, it's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely must read. If you are a horror reader, a horror aficionado, it is one of the tops. You got to read it. You have to have an opinion of it. I put it up there at the top of that list, along with things like The Exorcist, The Haunting of Hill House, Rosemary's Baby, and then of course the big King books, which in my opinion would probably be Salem's Lot, The Shining, The Stand, It. I definitely Boy's Life by McCammon. This is definitely in that group of books that you should read, just to have an opinion on, just to have a comparison point, just to have something to look at as you read other books. But Swan Song, Robert McCammon, loved it, 5 stars. Perfect book. This has been Well Read Beard. This has been the McCammon Project, Episode 1. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're enjoying all your books, all of them, as much as I am. If not, you're reading the wrong damn books.